I'm Lois McCluckie, Head of Marketing at HotDocs. Thanks for joining us today for our Digitally Transforming with HotDocs webinar, where we will give you an overview perspective of digital transformation. If you've got any questions, please type them into the question pane on the GoToWebinar panel, and we will get to them at the end. I would like to introduce our presenter today, Graham Penman. Graham heads up the HotDocs Global Services team, and he works with our clients every day to implement and integrate our document automation solutions. In this role, Graham has worked with numerous global companies to deploy HotDocs as part of a digital transformation project. And I will now hand you over to Graham, who will take you through the presentation.
Great, thanks very much, Lois. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to you all. It's good to speak to you this afternoon about digital transformation. As Lois says, part of what I do is to work with our customers and to work with them on projects to do with digital transformation. We've been doing this for a long time to do with document automation and how we can automate different processes and move people from a manual world to a more automated world. And with that comes some experience in dealing with different organizations of different sizes and different types of projects. That has given me some experience in what a digital transformation project looks like and what it actually is. And maybe just to set the scene as we talk about this, I'd like to just kind of pose the question, what is digital transformation? What does it actually mean? And it's a phrase that gets bandied about a lot throughout different organizations and different industries, and it can mean many different things to many different people. And it's quite hard to pin down exactly what digital transformation actually is. And if you go on the internet, you can Google this, and one of the first things that comes up is obviously Wikipedia, and the Wikipedia definition of digital transformation is poor at best. It's got lots of different contributors to it, lots of different opinions on it, and lots of information that links out to other sites, and they all say different things. And the kind of funny part about Wikipedia's definition is the warning that is actually up at the top of the Wikipedia page. And I want to bring this up in a little bit more detail, because the article, it says it has multiple issues. And the ironic thing about it is the issues that the article has is actually the issues we have when we start describing what digital transformation is. And the first issue that the article has is this article is written like a personal reflection or opinion essay. And that's the thing with digital transformation. As many people have different ideas about what it is, it's about sometimes it's about personal opinion. Well, digital transformation means this to me. And so it's hard to pin down what it actually means. And the second thing that's the problem with this article is it may be incomprehensible or very hard to understand. I've sat in meetings where we've talked about digital transformation, chucked in lots of acronyms, lots of buzzwords, and nobody seems to know actually what it is about. So what I want to do today is take you through what I believe digital transformation actually is and how it can apply to your business. And I think it helps just to put it in a really simple statement for you, and I believe this statement is as succinct as we can get it, which is harnessing the power of technology to improve customer relationships, increase business productivity, and drive organizational efficiency. It's all about the technology and customer relationships, with the output of being more productive and more efficient and engaging in the way that you deliver those services. And maybe just to contextualize this a bit for you, when you think about digital transformation, the easiest example for me is how I interact with my bank now. So think about the old way of interacting with your bank. If I wanted to open up a new product or service with my bank, I would have given them a phone call. They would have arranged an appointment for me to come in and sit down face to face with someone who would ask me a whole bunch of questions. They'd enter it manually into a system or write all the information down. They'd ask me what product I'd like to select. And then they'd say, okay, that's fantastic. Could you go away and could you come back with some proof of ID? 3 forms, please. Can you go and come back with that? And then you'd say, okay, I'll make another appointment next week, come back in, bring it all in, and then you'd go through the process. And then eventually, after a week or two of toing and froing with your bank, you would eventually have that service provided to you. And then I think about the new way that I interact with my bank. So a couple of weeks ago, I set up a new account. This is digital transformation. They've gone through a process to think, how can I take the manual process, how can I take the process of onboarding a customer, make it digital, make it interactive for the person who wants to purchase the service as easy as possible. So when I wanted to open a new bank account, I went onto their website. I was actually on my iPhone. So what I did was I entered all my information into the form, clicked submit. It said, okay, well, I need some digital identification. Can you provide something for me? Well, in the wall at the time I was in Starbucks, I happened to have my driver's license. So I took a photo of my driver's license. It then scanned all that information and automatically populated it. It then went off to Experian to do a credit check. It said, Graham, you may not have a good credit rating, you may not have a bad credit rating, but you've got a good enough one to give you this product. So then the next stage was I got a welcome email from them the next day saying everything's been approved, here's access to your account. So within a day, I had access to a brand new service and the customer experience was more efficient than having to go through all the manual processes. And that's like a concrete example of digital transformation, taking one thing that's more of a manual process and making it more efficient using technology and transforming the experience that the customer goes through or the process goes through in order to deliver the service. So that's all well and good, but how do you approach digital transformation? What are the steps to being able to do it? Well, the first thing you need to do when you're thinking about taking anything in your organization and transforming it is to identify what the goals to the project are. Too many times I see when I work with our customers that they don't have goals to the project, they don't have requirements, they don't know what their end result's going to be. What could those goals be? Things like improving customer service. How can I gain more satisfaction and customer retention by implementing some form of transformation project in the digital world? How can I improve efficiency within the processes that I create? Identify the goals of why you're trying to change what you currently do and what you're trying to achieve. And through that, you need to quantify success. How do you define success? From within that, I spoke at our global user group back in London, I think it was June this year, and I talked about calculating ROI and quantifying what a success looks like in the project. It's amazing how many projects, especially digital transformation ones, go on where you get to the end of it and you don't know whether you've met the goals. You don't know whether you've achieved what you wanted to achieve. So as you start off on this journey, sit back and say, what's your goals? How are we going to quantifiably define what success looks like? What about setting out key milestones? It's amazing when you look at some big processes. You know, we deal with customers in very different kind of sizes, from 1 and 2 person firms all the way to some of the largest enterprises in the world. And it's amazing that when you think about how you can potentially change a process, you have this vision of what that process might look like. But there may be 3 million milestones to get there. But what you want to do is you want to set out some clearly defined milestones, stepping stones to getting to that end vision of where you want to be. How will you get there? Will you use something like a minimum viable product, which is like, what are the baby steps I need to get? What are the first few things I need in order to sell a product, to engage with a customer, to define a new process? What are those little steps I need to take to get something that works, that we can then iterate on and refine as we go forward, as we test the market, as we push into new areas and then iterate on those processes? Another one, achieve stakeholder buy-in. I can't stress how important this is. I'm going to talk about it a bit more in detail in a second. But who will help you get to your end goal as you think about the area of your business you want to digitally transform? Who are the people within your organization you need to get on board, speak to, and help understand what the goals are going to be, that you get their buy-in and they can help you drive that project forward? Who's the influencers within your organization that can help drive a successful project, that can have the ideas that can help you navigate your internal systems, navigate your internal structures to be able to achieve your ultimate goal that you've quantified and you set out your milestones for? Establish a realistic budget and resources and timeline. Comes back to a bit more pure play project management. What's your budget? Do you have a budget there for technology, a budget there for people? Do you have the people internally to be able to do this? If it's a relatively small project, a relatively small process you're looking to transform, then you may not need that many resources. If you're trying to redefine customer onboarding in one of the world's largest banks, you're going to need a lot of resources to be able to do that. You have millions of customers. So all these things have to be taken into account. Timelines for this transformation as well. These things, from the smallest project, you could get up and running quite quickly. As I say, to these banking transformation projects where it's involving millions of customers, lots of different people involved, lots of money being spent on the transformation, it could be a year to 2 years to be able to transform that entire process. And as we talked about quantifying success and the goals, how do you benchmark and measure those? It's all well and good having the quantifiable measurements to say, you know, this is what we define success, but if you can't benchmark the process in terms of efficiency, if you don't know how long it was taking you before versus how long it's taken after, it's going to be very hard to quantify that. So what are your benchmarks? How are you going to measure success? Generating a flexible plan. You know, things change all the time. In our organization, we have a kind of 6 to 8 week view of our development roadmap. We have long-term initiatives that we're going to be developing. However, we're flexible to the marketplace. We look 6 to 8 weeks out and we know what we're going to be delivering to the market. And if in 6 to 8 weeks time, something else comes up, we will then divert our attention to be able to meet that market need. We must be flexible with digital transformation. New technologies come up all the time. You know, just a few weeks ago, I was looking at one specific piece of technology internally, looking at how we analyze the data that we have, and how we can do some KPI reporting and things like that. And as I was looking at it, I was like, this is a really cool bit of technology. It comes up and it shows me all the dashboarding that I need with very little effort having to configure. And then one of my guys in IT came up and said, have you seen this new technology? It's even better than that one that you're looking at. And the one I was looking at was only 3-4 months old. So the way that the marketplace and technologies generate and change over time, that we need to be flexible in the way that we approach to embrace new technologies. And if there's a new one that's going to help us, if there's a new way of doing things that's going to be able to do that and take a new direction in the middle of a transformation project, we need to be open and flexible to be able to do that. Communication is absolutely key. As you look to do change management within your business, communication with stakeholders, communication with those who are going to be affected is absolute key. As you look to engage with those who are involved in the processes, there may be lots of things going through people's minds. Am I going to be replaced by automation? Is my job going to be changed? Is my, you know, where are we going to go with this? Well, communication is always key. What are the ultimate goals? Do people understand how you're going to define success? Do people understand how you're going to quantify that? And if you've got stakeholder buy-in, can you influence the communication plan and communicate exactly what you're trying to achieve and get people on board with it? And this process is all about implementation, then evaluating, measuring success, and then repeating the process. It's all an iteration. It's a big cycle. We're never really finished with digital transformation. You may have transformed one part of your business or one process, but there are many more still to go. So it's a constant evaluation, it's a constant measuring, it's a constant repeat of this cycle to then implement, evaluate, and measure in a cycle as you go through. Facebook have this great development principle called "we're only 1% done," and it's a fantastic principle because if you think you're 100% done, then you stop. You don't continue on being innovative. You don't continue on thinking how you're going to progress forward. And they have this thing saying you must get into the mindset you're only 1% done. There's so much more that we can do. And that's a great principle for that iterative development and that innovation that can go on within organizations. So we mentioned when we sent this link out that we're going to be looking at something called the hype and debunking the myths of digital transformation. And as I say, there are lots of statements out there. There are lots of myths around digital transformation. I want to take you through a few of them just now and give you kind of the antidote to them. And we get this. We get this in many different organizations, especially in larger ones. This one here, we speak to people who are on the ground in the day-to-day of doing business, processing things, managing process in the back office. and they think, do you know what, I found this new technology. I think we can transform the way that we do something within our business using technology. Well, how do we do this? And they think, do you know what, I can do this on my own. I can speak to a couple of colleagues and we can try and transform the organization from where we are. And that's okay, that's a valid kind of response, but I'd advise that, you know what, you need that senior buy-in, that stakeholder management that I talked about a few minutes ago. You need to find that influencer, you need to find that person in your organization who can help you progress your vision for the transformation, progress your vision for how to use technology to make you more efficient and more productive. And it must be led from the top. It's a top-down approach. People must embrace the new technologies, embrace the way that we can transform process, and then help you with that. Another one, let's just see what others in our industry do. This is a classic. You know, this is the leaders versus the followers. This is the people who are in an organization who go, do you know what, I don't really want to step out of my comfort zone here. I just want to wait and see what my competitor does first. And then I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. And you could. That's a perfectly valid strategy. But we tend to find that when you look at the statistics, digital leaders outperform their peers. So those who are thinking digitally, those who are transforming quicker and embracing technology to be more productive and efficient, tend to outperform their peers. Another one, you have to approach it differently depending on what industry you're in. And there are some nuances between different organizations. However, the way that you transform process using technology, the framework is exactly the same. If you look at an industry like farming, or you look at an industry like production management, you have robotics helping to do things. So you have the chips in McDonald's are produced by a massive factory that have got robots just producing thousands and hundreds and billions of chips for McDonald's every single day through a process automation via robotics and via machinery that automatically does it, compared to the old way of just having to chop up all the potatoes yourself. You know, you've got that kind of transformation into a more digital kind of robotics, machinery kind of world. And the same is for AI within insurance. You know, they're going through a phase where we're looking at AI doing claims litigation and creating all the documents automatically. We have exactly the same thought process about how we can take a process, use technology, use digital transformation to be able to make process more efficient, and the framework's exactly the same. The implementation may look slightly different, but the principles are exactly the same about how you do that. We get this a lot from a lot of our smaller businesses. If we don't digitally transform, our business will die. That's a statement that we get. But really, do you know what? It's unlikely. You can continue on doing what you're doing, but you may just be putting a lot more manual effort for far fewer results. It's not necessarily a death nail in your business, but you'll be less productive and you may not see the efficiencies that you want to within your business. Here's a good one. We don't need IT to digitally transform. I hear this all the time. There's pockets of people within an organization who go, right, I'm gonna embrace this, but I'm gonna do it on our own. I've got this group of 5 people within my team, and we are going to transform our process without the need for IT. Well, I'd like to hasten that and say you do need IT. If you're a small organization, that might be one person. It might be nobody. It might be yourself if you're just in an organization where it's you and someone else. But if you're in a larger organization, your IT team will be critical to the success, because they're not just thinking about your team, they're thinking about the wider organizational goals and how what you would like to do can fit into that ultimate picture of strategy to move the business forward. So IT will be a key stakeholder within the digital transformation project. Doesn't mean they own it, but it means that they own the ability to be able to help shape the strategy and the technology decisions and how you move that forward. It won't work for my company. Now, I've seen this a lot within the legal world. It just won't work. We've been a law firm for 200 years and we've just got the way that we do things. And that's good, and that's fine. And those ways seem to work. However, technology is there to be able to help and ease the process of what you do. You know, we look at examples of where you do document review. Now, if you look at JP Morgan have switched their document review from a manual process by their lawyers to an automated process using artificial intelligence. And what they've then been able to do is turn all the lawyers who are doing day-to-day document review to actually doing the job that they were supposed to be doing, which is actually acting on behalf of JP Morgan in the legal world, using that education that they've had, using their brains to be able to work within the legal system, to work on behalf of JP Morgan, rather than just reviewing documentation over and over again. And what we're seeing is a shift, especially within law, of people moving from doing the manual work to doing the analysis work. So automated tooling gives you that information, and then the lawyers can use that information to make decisions rather than having to do both parts. So lawyers are doing more of the analysis work on the data that's been pulled in from other systems rather than having to find all that data themselves. We get this from a lot. It's just about customer experience. Oh, digital transformation, it's just about how you interact with your customer. Well, on the surface, it is about how you take a service, you transform it digitally, you provide better service to your customer, who, by the way, could be internal and external customers. Everything that we do is for someone. Everybody has a customer somewhere. But how could you actually think about it more than just about a customer experience and look at the underlying? It's about efficiency and productivity underneath as well. And here's the age-old one. It will happen organically. I can just sit back, relax. My organization will just have a digital transformation strategy. It will happen automatically, and that'll be great. Well, it won't. A digital transformation strategy does not happen in disparate parts of your organization. You can't have an organization of 10 people and have 10 different strategies and 10 different people thinking, oh, do you know, organically it's going to happen. In a 250,000 person firm organization, it needs to be coordinated. Everything has to be coordinated from a top-down approach. Is the only way that you'll get truly good digital transformation, and think about how you can use that technology to improve your business. And there are lots of common tech that's being used within this space to be able to do process automation, to transform processes. We look at AI, for instance. I mentioned one about document review. Artificial intelligence, not replacing, we're not trying to recreate the human brain to act on behalf of people. What we're trying to do is create tools that replace the grunt manual effort that people have to do to get to a point where they can actually start doing their job. So all the data analysis tools, they can be able to look at documents, review those documents, flag up where there are problems within your documentation or liabilities that you haven't seen, and present that to you. And we've got lots of AI tools that we're working with, things like Leverton, Kira systems, who do that intelligent document scanning just now. Then you look at big data. Everyone's got data, everyone's got pools of data, data farms, data lakes, everything out there at their fingertips. And it's all about how you analyze that data to make good decisions, and having that data accessible, say in the cloud, so all your other systems can pull from that, and you can make better business decisions on all the data that you have. Virtual reality. That's a bit of an obtuse one, you know. Virtual reality is a phenomenal thing in the kind of medical industry, where you can do medical imaging, put the goggles on, see exactly what you're doing, go through surgeries and things like that. And it's an amazing piece of technology. I saw it at in a banking context at an event last year, where it was virtual reality banking, where you could kind of do a minority report, put your goggles on, and you could see all your accounts in front of you, swipe through graphs, see how much money you have, see how little money you have within your accounts, and that way that we might start engaging differently with banks. Blockchain technology for distributed ledgers, chatbot. You know, when you want some help on a website, most of the time you're probably not talking to a person, you're talking to an automated system giving you responses based on the questions that you have and the knowledge that they have access to in the background. Cybersecurity and forensics, e-signature tools, social media. If you have a problem these days, you know, if you're on a flight with British Airways and you're having a bit of a problem, you don't have to write a letter or even an email. You can tweet them very publicly and they'll respond to you. So the way that we engage with customers is very much changing, and using technology and embracing that to do so. Robotics. This has been around for a long time in manufacturing, but we're now seeing it in other areas where we have robotics replacing the manual processes that are involved, and we have the Internet of Things. You know, last week I got an Alexa device, the Amazon Echo Dot, where you can go into a room and you can say, Alexa, turn off my lights, and it will turn off the lights in the house. I know someone who's got their whole house hooked up to the voice commands where they can lock the door, open the garage, turn off the lights, play music on different systems just by using voice commands. Everything's connected, the washing machine, the fridge, freezer. We're moving to a world where everything's connected, and that opens up limitless possibilities of what we can do to transform the way that we provide services and provide our customers with the best customer experience. And how does HotDocs fit in with that? Well, I haven't really talked about HotDocs too much. I'm going to tell you a bit about us in a second, but what we do is we do document automation. We create documents based on the data you have and intelligent document templates. And we have different technologies that allow us to connect to lots of different systems. I mentioned AI tools. We've got Leverett and Kira up there, CRM systems, document management, BPM, e-signature tools, document storage, lots of different systems that can connect into us for document automation purposes. And we provide tools that allow end users to take the documents they produce on a regular basis in the format that they're in and find all the changeable bits of information, the business rules, and allow them to insert the instructions for creating that document. So the next time that someone creates a document, instead of going to Word, opening it up, or going into a file cabinet, getting a document, they view an interactive interview that's based on the business rules and the questions that are within the template. And questions appear and disappear depending on how they answer the questions. We also go and get data from other systems. And once we've collected all that information, we then send it into our document automation tool, and we capture all that information and assemble all the relevant documents, and also save all the data for later so you can reuse it on all your templates. So an end-to-end document automation tool. We've got well over 1 million users worldwide, 11,500 customers. We've been doing this for a long time. We're the market leader. We're currently deployed in over 60 countries, 60 global partners, rolling out with some of the world's largest banks to over 47 countries in 13 different languages. We're proven technology in many different market sectors, primarily in banking, legal, and insurance, and also accredited by Gartner and Microsoft as a gold partner and a cool vendor and best of breed as well. So those are our credentials, and that's what we work on. And it's great for me to be able to share my experiences with lots of different customers, and the things I've talked about today are the things that I talk with our customers about all the time. So these are just a few of our customers up on the slide now, from some of the world's largest banks, as I say, to some of the smallest firms as well. And we can help bring that experience of digital transformation, particularly within the document automation space. So I'd really love to speak to you for more. However, we're kind of running out of time here, but thanks for joining us. There are some questions, I believe, that have come through. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Lois, who is going to ask some of those questions that have come in. And again, if you have any other questions, please put them in the chat window, and I'd be happy to answer as many of them as I can.
So there's just a couple that I'll ask just now, Graham, and any that we don't get to we'll answer via email after the webinar. So first question is, who usually leads on business transformation projects?
Okay, who leads? So in different organizations, it's fairly different. However, usually the initial leading is from a business team who have got a problem. Then, as I say, the stakeholders from the business get involved, so it gets put up to a more senior level who then drive through the project. So usually it's at kind of CIO level within a large organization, who then give it down to solution architects and IT and business analysts, who then drive forward the project.
Okay, thank you. We'll just do one more. For a digital transformation, what one area is critical?
What one area? If I was to pick one area within digital transformation, I'd probably go for stakeholder buy-in. You know, communication within these projects is key. It's absolutely key to be able to make sure that you get people on board, that you collaborate with the different stakeholders, you collaborate with the people that this will affect, and you engage with them to get them on board with the idea. So this kind of communication, the ability to be able to coordinate, get their ideas, take them on that journey that you go through as well as you think of how you're going to transform the processes within your business in a digital way. It's very important to have that open communication line with all the stakeholders involved.
Okay, thank you, Graham. So we've come to the end of our allotted time, and we'll answer any other questions by email. And if you have any more, you can also send them to that marketing address. I hope you found the webinar useful, and we hope to see you next time.